Hello, everybody. How is it going? Welcome. It is August 7th, 2024. This is the RambleCast. I'm your host, Cody Toombs, and with me I have Corbin Davenport.
Hello. I haven't opened the chat yet. I'm trying.
It's okay. No one said anything yet.
I'm gonna miss it.
You're gonna miss it.
I'm gonna miss nothing happening. just like me going to the bathroom while I'm at the theater for Deadpool and Wolverine. Got him.
Oh.
Got him.
Oh. Singeing them.
Disney will never recover. They actually won't. Their stock price is not good right
now. I mean,
another
you're watching
$200 billion.
You're very aware of how much stocks are really not doing good at the moment.
More money to Robert Downey Jr. Okay. Why won't my YouTube window snap in the corner? This is annoying. Okay. All right. What's first on the docket?
Well, I figured that we'd spend like a couple hours talking about Marvel movies and then we'd start talking about tech. But I mean, we could always reverse that order and skip the last part.
I need to think of this is a mental health intervention on my part. I need to not talk about that for a while. It's not kind for yourself to dwell on such anger. So I need to move on and be angry about something in our topics list.
I mean, we could always switch to politics.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That'll get you angry. No, we can absolutely talk about something that should make everybody furious. I mean, absolutely livid. And that is Apple is going to stop selling the Super Drive. Oh my God.
So sad.
The Super Drive. The one piece of hardware that probably has a higher failure rate. Hold on. I'm trying to think. What has Apple ever made that has a worse failure rate than the Super Drive? Possibly literally nothing.
Actually, if you want to count people bending, well, maybe. I was thinking of people bending their iPhone 7s. Yeah.
That okay. Or how about the iPhone 4 with antenna gate?
Yeah, original iPhone 4. Yeah, very possibly.
I mean, I don't know that counts as failure rate as much as just flub rate. Because at least all you had to do with the phone was, hold it right. Because we were all holding it wrong the whole time. Thank you, Steve.
And now we're all holding our phones in weird ways because they're all gigantic. So the Super Drive, this is a external DVD drive, not Blu-ray. It's just DVD. That Apple originally released in 2008 when they made the first MacBook Air, which was their first laptop in modern history without a disk drive. So they needed something to sell to people who still had discs and needed to read them on their new MacBook Air. And so they made this. And it has been completely unchanged since that point. They were still selling it, as Apple and everyone else moved away from putting disk drives in any computers. They were still selling this for people who needed to read discs, and they have finally stopped selling it. There's still stock in some stores, but you probably shouldn't get this one because you can go get a nice DVD drive from many other companies. Some of them are like USB-C even, and they all work fine with whatever computer you plug them into. Or you can treat yourself and get a Blu-ray drive that is also a DVD and CD drive. As a matter of fact, I am still using a probably over 10-year-old Blu-ray drive when I need to read discs. It's so old. It has like a really weird like mini USB connector that breaks out into two USB ports because it was made back when USB ports barely could do power delivery. Uh, and you know what? It's still fine. Still works. In fact, I used it to rip a CD yesterday.
Are you subtly suggesting that maybe Apple waited a little too long to discontinue this product and should have probably switched to Blu-ray? Oh, I don't know, a decade ago.
Um, yeah, I remember that discourse when people were begging Apple to put Blu-ray drives in their computers, and Apple refused, and then they just had no drives.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was honestly kind of a pretty interesting time, just because it was so much of a uh so much of I don't know how much of Apple's customer base, but it was a lot. So many people saying, "Look, we're just asking for a Blu-ray drive. We know you can do it. We know that that's not the hardest thing for you. Other computers have it. Why don't you?" And there were excuses made. There were people rationalizing like, "Oh, but then they'd have to like give money to Sony, or they'd have to do this or have to do that." But no, for whatever reason, that was one of those things Apple refused to settle on. And I don't know that we ever actually found out a reason. I'm pretty sure there was never actually a justification for it.
I'm sure they just wanted to get rid of discs because it was expensive and made their laptops bigger. So probably easier to just get them out of the computers, especially because their internal disk drives were always pretty bad, and tell people to go buy them from somewhere else so they could make their laptops ever so much thinner.
Yes, while at the same time having lots and lots of things hanging off the side by cables.
Yes, that's the Apple dream.
I it's Johnny Ive's dream.
Yeah, it's the real lived experience of everyone who bought the trash can Mac Pro
No.
and the one port MacBook Air, and me with my Surface Laptop 4 for the 6 months I had it because it had one USB Type A port. Um, that was fun.
Yeah. Oh
I do
jeez.
not enjoy the dongle party. It's not fun.
You know, I wanted to do this for so long and I never got around to it. Um I always wanted to do like a mock like YouTube thumbnail joke. I wanted to take a picture of like myself doing the YouTube thumbnail of like all these things hanging off of the laptop with um just as many dongles as I could stack, like just adapters and converters and all this stuff, and just like cables laying across the keyboard, and be the frustrated YouTuber face, and then next to it the real world example, which is just like, yeah, here's some USB-C cables that terminate it like USB-A on the other end, and that's it. Like just one or two cables sticking out, and be like, reality. Because the dongle life was never as bad as people made it out to be. Anyway, yeah, so the drive is in that classic, like, for as long as supplies last, you can still probably go get one of these at a store or something, but for the most part, they're dead. They're gone. If you wanted one of these,
okay.
it's time to go hit eBay. If you don't want one of these, you're normal.
Yeah, go buy a normal drive from a normal company.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of outdated Apple hardware, I am still waiting for my USB-C AirPods. I'm still waiting for that. I'm
Hey,
done. I gave up on the. I gave up on the USB-C Magic Keyboard. I don't care anymore. I went back to my MX Keys Mini, and it's fine. I'm just gonna keep using this.
I mean, I love the Magic Trackpad, or well, this is the Magic Trackpad 2. Um, and for those that are paying attention, this isn't even the current Magic Keyboard. This is the old one that still takes AA batteries. I've been waiting for a while. I'm not replacing either of these until there's USB-C in them. And even then, truthfully, with the prices they're probably going to charge, I'm not sure I'll replace it even then. But
Imagine an Apple product with replaceable batteries. That's crazy.
yeah, yeah, it was definitely a thing of the 2010s. Not something that you'd see more recently. To be fair though, can you name many products that still have replaceable batteries?
Yes. Xbox controllers and remotes, which I actually don't
I
mind
mean,
because
I got Sony here, so
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want to hear about it.
I have my stack of rechargeable double A's, and they work great with the Xbox controller, so I don't care. I can
Yeah,
hot swap them.
I have some double A's in this office that I've been using them for so long in the handful of things that, not even handful, but the small number of things that can still take these batteries, and yeah, they're getting old. I should replace them. But I'm reluctant to because I have so few things that take double A's now.
Also, all the Quest controllers are double A's, I think.
Okay. Um,
Basically, game controllers. I
yeah,
guess that's it.
but I mean, TV controllers,
except
game.
PlayStation.
Well, yeah, I guess a few game controllers. There are some things that still take double A's, but man, that list is shrinking fast. I feel like it's not that I think that they're gonna go away or anything, but I feel like we've hit that phase where built-in battery is just sort of the way everything goes. That, or
Just a
like,
bunch of random little stuff. Like
yeah,
I have a hair trimmer that has like one double A goes in it.
well, like even cameras. I haven't seen a camera that takes like normal batteries in forever. They all have custom shaped batteries. So, I'm it feels like it's all going to be built-in batteries or specialty batteries at this stage. Or at least we're closing in on that point. So anyway, let's see. I didn't really figure out which thing we're going to go to next, but yeah, let's if it while we're mocking companies, and actually we're that's going to kind of be the theme of this show for today anyway. While we're
Did we
mocking
do anything
companies,
else?
huh?
Did
Oh
we
yeah,
do anything else?
that's a fair point. Um let's just look. Let's make fun of Intel. Intel's had a bad week. Um, for one, and actually, this isn't really a this week thing. This is actually kind of the last few weeks. But news has been creeping out that Intel's last couple generations of processors maybe have some manufacturing flaws. And I believe we talked about this last week. So I'm not going to belabor that point a whole lot. But for those that missed it, there was a manufacturing flaw in I believe it was 13th and 14th gen Intel CPUs where it could lead to oxidation during manufacturing. And if this happened, well, basically your chip or each CPU that oxidized in this way could have some voltage issues, and this could lead to crashes. This could lead to corrupted data. various behavioral issues. And apparently, as at least I've heard, it can get worse over time. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but regardless, Intel basically made bad news for themselves by kind of never saying that they'd replace them or do anything about this. They've also not been very forthright about the details. They haven't really been open with anyone about what's going on, and they've actually kind of been lying about what's going on. So that wasn't good. And now, as if to throw the sprinkles on top of the ice cream, Intel has announced that they're laying off over 15,000 employees and that they intend to stop, quote, non-essential work. Which, for a company the size of Intel, that actually is a... there's probably a lot of work that's, quote unquote, non-essential. But... Awesome. Intel's had a bad decade. Yes, they have. But yeah, Intel, in basically in the same breath as people are still bringing up the, hey, whatever happened to you doing like manufacturing of chips here in the US, Intel's flipping around saying, yeah, you know what, we're actually going to cut a whole bunch of people. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. This really sucks. It really sucks that 15,000 or more people are losing their jobs on top of all of the thousands and thousands of layoffs that Intel has done, and also everyone else. Just really fucking sucks right now. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a subset of people who every time like a company everyone hates does mass layoffs, they're like, haha, you had it coming. Don't be one of those people. Also, if we were like a normal functioning country, Trump wanted to run the country like a company, but we're not a company. If we were a normal functioning country, this would be around the time when we nationalized Intel, because we just gave them a lot of money under the assumption that the U.S. should probably have domestic production of advanced semiconductor chips. That's kind of important. It's not, however you want to swing the nationalism stuff. It's just objectively not good for all of the important chips to be made in one island somewhere. You don't want to put the entire, like every conceivable egg in the world into one basket. That's not a good idea. So it would probably be good if they could do that here. Intel seems like they'll get there eventually. Again, it just keeps taking a very long time. And they just got a whole lot of money in the CHIPS Act to make that happen. So I think this would be around the time when the U.S. government, if it was normal, would be like, okay, you're clearly not doing well. I think we need to recoup our investment here, and we're gonna make Intel like a federal agency now. And we'll have, you can even like, if politicians want to like make it more palatable, you can start use fun names like you do at NASA. Everyone loves that. You could even, if you wanted to go like really hard national stuff, you could do like, oh, I just got my Dell XPS with my Patriot Core i5 chipset. my Freedom chip. Maybe not Patriot. I think Patriot's really tainted now, but I think you could probably still do like Freedom chip.
I think Freedom's kind of been.
It's also not good. Too. It's also not good, but I think that one is salvageable.
Corbyn's exposing his Georgia roots.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it'd be nice if that happened, because then presumably uh, layoffs would it wouldn't be subject to the same like crazy up and down uh, growth that normal companies do. Uh, but that's not going to happen because we don't do that here. We let the free market do what it so wishes, which is why we our one bet on making chipsets with an American-owned company is not going well, and our attempts at making new spaceships. One of them is run by an absolute psychopath who's probably helping Russia, and the other one is currently stuck in space and cannot get back. And is made by the company also making planes that are getting stuck and not doing well. So, uh, the free market wins again. Capitalism is the most efficient means of production. It's going great. I love it here.
I'd like to remind everyone, earlier in this very episode, I suggested, jokingly mostly, but I did suggest we could talk about politics. And remember, Corbin said no. I just want everyone to remember this.
Well, there's a difference between this and like, talking about a certain person's relationship with couches.
I was gonna make the same joke. God, he's just so easy. And so's that futon. Anyway. So yeah,
nationalize Intel, please. And Boeing.
So I'm going to take a little bit of a stab. I have a bit of a theory on this, which is I think Intel probably is, they're not joking about planning to lay off 15,000 employees, but I have a weird feeling that this is kind of a two-pronged plan. One, very much, they're cutting jobs so that they can save some money. But two, I have a feeling that a large part of this is they know that they're going to be rehiring a lot of these people with new plants. Not the same people, but just however many people that they end up losing in this, they're probably going to be hiring somewhere in the same ballpark, just as many at some new locations. So I don't take this to mean that the company is actually going to get that much smaller. It will for a few months, maybe a couple years, but they're going to be right back to the same head count as soon as they open their any manufacturing plant in the country. So this is probably sort of a cut some of the heads now while Intel doesn't really have any major products to push, and very soon they'll have something new, or they'll be doing massive hiring again. So I don't think that this is actually that long term, that this is going to be that big of a change. It's going to suck for those 15,000 now, obviously. And, it's...
Right. Well, this is how it always goes, right? There's always like the big layoffs, and then the company will slowly accumulate people again. And then when they have a bad quarter, it's time to dump everyone again and repeat the cycle. This is the most efficient way of doing things.
It absolutely is.
That's why we've had a bad couple quarters at the RambleCast. So Cody's being laid off. It'll just be me. But we might hire Cody back again. We'll see.
I mean, that actually does kind of make the most sense, because of the two of us, I'm the closest one to getting paid for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're the expense.
I do cost more. Yes.
Yeah.
And Corbin being the unpaid intern is kind of working out here. So,
I'm here for exposure. The exposure with the same 10 people who watch this every week.
Fun fact. There was at least somebody new that I've never heard from who commented on a couple of videos ago. So, and quickly, I will actually answer his comment on the air. He complained that in the VODs that are remaining from the live stream, that the opening several minutes intro card should not be there. He wants me to go in and clip that part out, which actually I don't agree, or sorry, I don't disagree with that. It is totally valid. I would do that. It's just that YouTube actually does take like several hours sometimes to finish processing videos from live streams, and by several hours I mean it usually goes into the following day, and
Right.
by the time that happens, I'm usually onto something else, and I don't think about, or I don't go back to mess with stuff like that. So sorry. I know it's not the answer you're looking for, but that's usually
And we
like
definitely
that's
can't
why.
do it now. We definitely can't do it now. We don't have the resources because they just laid off Cody. So
Yeah.
we gotta conserve resources.
But hey, technically, RambleCast is acquiring new listeners. So
Right. Okay.
woohoo. um. Okay. So anyway, speaking of companies that are doing all kinds of hinky stuff, man, that could have been a transition to anything. But let's talk about Disney Plus. Corbin, I know you have some things to say on this. I'll just hand this one to you because
Okay. I mean, there's not a lot here. It's just another round of price increases because Disney really needs more money,
they do.
and all of their streaming business has like not been profitable this whole time. I think this past quarter they said it's finally profitable. So
Nope,
that means
they are the
oh, it's not.
closest that they've ever
Okay.
been. They're actually
This
still
is like
losing money, but
great. This is me going to sleep early. Like, well, we're not going to sleep early, but this is the earliest I've gone to sleep in a while. Um, it's still not it's not still not good.
yeah, I looked this up
But
when Kirby brought this up in chat. I don't know what, couple days ago when this was announced, or yesterday. Sorry. Um, yeah. Disney was if I remember their previous quarter or previous year, whatever it was, they were losing something to the tune of like 700 million on these, and now they lost something like 17 million or whatever. I don't know. They cut their losses to almost nothing by these standards, but it's still not break even. It's still losing money, and I think we all know that Disney would like to actually make some money off of this project instead of just losing more. So, yeah, they're almost
yeah,
there, kind of.
yeah. So there's a nice table in this Verge article. I think this is from their some press release somewhere. But basically the same thing we've seen the past couple times, and also what Netflix has done, where the ad supported plans really aren't changing, because those are so profitable. Like, it's crazy. Like, the more you use it, the more money they make. So they don't have to change that.
Notably, they aren't super profitable for anyone who is, the very, very occasional watcher, the person who hops on to watch exactly like one movie. Though they're still making
Right.
their monthly, so
Yeah.
they probably don't actually care.
Yeah. They come out on top. Carson in the chat, hello. So yeah, the ad version of Disney Plus is staying at $10 a month. No ads is going from sorry, no, this is update. Okay, yeah. No ads is now $16 a month. Hulu with ads is still $10. I think that's how it was before. And all of the no ads Hulu is now 19 a month. And all of the like various bundles are going up a little bit. it's a lot, and you know, it, becoming increasingly clear that in the absence of profit from these individual subscriptions, they are looking at bundles more. So they have their bundle, and they just launched the bundle thing with HBO Max, which that is definitely the most desperate they've been, because those kinds of like competing company agreements are very rare. Up to that point, it was mostly just cell carriers doing that to a more limited extent. And also, Disney and Warner are supposed to eventually get their VNU Sports subscription going, which is, I guess, maybe not a bundle in like the technical sense, but is still kind of that idea of like grouping together rights and making sure you, as these media companies, you get at least some amount per month from as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So
And
that's where we're at.
again, like I'm not gonna blame Disney too much on the idea that they want to at least get to, above break even. Um, that doesn't bother me. What strikes me, and I did comment on this in the previous discussion on Discord, I to me the problem is Disney's clearly not handling the money that well if this thing cannot be profitable at its current prices. Because it's not cheap. It's, I think, the most expensive streaming service there is now. Though,
What is?
well, Disney
Because
Plus. I'm Disney
yeah,
Plus and Hulu. Not together necessarily, but just Disney Plus
yeah.
and Hulu are two of the most
Um,
expensive streaming services. And
who? I think Hulu is the most expensive. I want to say HBO Max is pretty close.
yeah, that's the one I was gonna say
I
might
think
still
they're
be up there.
around. I think they're around 20 now. Let's see. Okay, so the current max pricing is with ads is $10 a month or $100 a year. Ad free is 17 a month or 170 a year, and then the ultimate ad free, which is where you get the
That's the
I
sports
think they
package.
no, that's I think that's 4K or like Dolby Vision. They limit
Oh,
something to the ultimate and
okay.
more screens and whatever. And that is $21 a month or
Mm,
210 a year.
okay. So it's a little bit of a messy breakdown because it doesn't necessarily line up side by side with
Right.
the others, but okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, the sports add-on is that's still free for all max subs, and the
oh,
plan is
okay.
eventually that'll be $10 a month extra. But for
Yeah.
now, I believe that's still free. So
Which, I mean, to be fair, that's pretty much what Disney's doing here because ESPN Plus is basically their sports package. Um, so yeah, as you start piling all these things together, uh, it's definitely getting expensive. Um, and I I don't I don't really see the I don't really see the value necessarily climbing to where it needs to be. Um, I said many times I think there's some aspect of this where as long as you're willing to rotate your subscriptions, this is still cheaper than let's say cable. But that means you've got to turn things on and off all the time. That means, you might have to sort of wiggle what you're watching if you want to watch anything along with other people. Um, you will probably still have the occasional overlapping of services, and as you start piling up these little issues, it makes the experience kind of suck. So, yeah, this isn't wonderful. I would love to see Disney
no,
find a way around this. Honestly, I think all the streaming services probably need to start finding a better way around this because it's not a good experience the way it's shaping up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. This is one of those fun things where there's also like a complete breakdown in how like online people talk about this versus what happens in real life. Because I
Yeah.
think I've heard like, oh, they can't keep putting, they can't keep pushing everyone to the ads subscription. Everyone hates ads. The company will implode. No, people are fine. Netflix registered like they're gonna stop reporting subscriber numbers. I think either next quarter or soon after that. So, their version, their take on it is like it doesn't accurately reflect, how they're doing as a company, whatever. But
Hmm.
every time they've reported it, the numbers on their ad supported plan keeps going up.
Yeah.
So people are fine with ads. Like it sucks, but like that's how it is. So I don't know. I agree. Like it doesn't feel like sustainable in this form, but I don't know where they go from here. Unless we just fully enter another like, okay, so there's the thing where everything in nature becomes crabs eventually, right? So what happened is we had cable, and then we had initial streaming that was supposed to be the alternative, but then that broke away and companies want to do their own thing. So now we have cable again, where we have like bundles of streaming services, and there's some crap in there that you don't want, but like you're still getting kind of an okay price. You're going to deal with it. So that has become crap. So maybe the next step is they try a more streamlined streaming service that has some of the stuff but is significantly cheaper. I don't know. Maybe that happens. The other thing I can see happening is just like full entropy of bundles. So like in a year, if you have like a AAA subscription, you're getting like Hulu in there, or like your car insurance, and just like what there's gonna be like the strangest streaming bundles you've ever seen because these companies need subscriber numbers more than anything else. Those are the
Okay.
two paths I can see happening, other than just the world collapsing because of unrelated events.
I think I just came up with, I'm going to call it the the brilliant solution. I don't know how you get to this. This is one of those things where getting from point A to point C is virtually impossible, but it would be kind of neat. Imagine a company comes out with a streaming box. Um, this could be Apple, it could be Google. It won't be Google. It almost certainly won't be Apple. But they come out with this, and instead of saying, okay, everybody out there, you can create your own apps, you can do your thing, just put it on our store, and you can run your subscription models and blah blah blah, and we're just gonna take some percentage off the top. Like that's what we have today. Imagine a company comes along and says, all right, screw your streaming models, we don't give a crap. What we're gonna do is you basically give us the content, so to speak. Like, it's still going to stream from you or whatever, that's fine, but it's going to run through our app, and users will pick what they want to watch. Full stop. They pick what they want to watch, uh and we will give them a price. We will tell them what it's going to cost. That's it. They're not going to look through any charts, they're not going to look through anything else. We tell them what it's going to cost if they want to watch Game of Thrones. We tell them, okay, well, we're going to pay you your portion. That's fine. And we're going to give them all the stuff that you'd give them. But we're not going to make them have to look through a damn thing. It's all going to go through our app. It's all going to go through pricing. And when they stop watching your stuff, we stop billing them for that. Simple. When they watch your stuff, we start billing them again.
See, this is what I'm upset about because we had this and it was Hulu. It was like I had Hulu.
Yeah, but Hulu
You're,
sucked.
yeah, the app was not good, but it did have the thing where it had its own stuff, and it had like all of the like, you know, at then kind of still relevant like cable packages like HBO and stuff you could add on and watch everything from the one place. But then yeah, everyone went their separate direction. Um, I mean, the annoying thing there is like when the media companies also want to be tech companies, and they want full control over the experience, and they want the data collection they get from having their app installed on your thing. So I don't know if they would be down for that anymore. I think that shit might have sailed. Um,
Yeah. Well, one, yes, the companies want more user data. They always want more user data. So that aspect is always going to be kind of tough. But you also have to factor in that we went down this really weird road where um and actually this Verge article mentions it at the bottom. That a lot of companies got into fast as their new strategy. Let's once a show or movie or whatever stops making enough money for us as like our exclusive streamer, let's just shovel it over the wall to somebody else who's going to stick ads every like 10 minutes, and we'll just license it to them for next to nothing, and they'll make whatever money they make off of it, and blah blah blah. Like, I get it, but man, that is like, it's going down this really ugly road where fast is that bad strategy. And I mean, I get why it's a thing. It's not even that bad of an idea, but it seems like if we're gonna go to that place, wouldn't it just be better if instead of fast being the strategy, someone comes along and says, "Look, we you're gonna let us license such and such thing for this price? Great. We're just going to basically remake Netflix. Like, if you can license all this stuff to us that you expect us to throw ads on it, great. We're just not going to throw ads on it. We'll just charge $5 a month or something and give people Netflix. It'll be ad free, and it'll just be the stuff that's not first run anymore. It's going to be the stuff that's like 8 months old."
yeah, I mean, like, again, this is the same thing as the Intel story, where like they're like it's very clear what needs to happen, but it will not happen because of capitalism. Like, every one of these companies could stop bleeding money in streaming if they just license most of their crap to everyone else.
Yeah.
And like, maybe if like all of them did that and then still didn't make money, there would be an issue. But like, something that is closer to making money. They were all making a lot of money when they were just licensing to Netflix, and then they thought we can do it better, and the end, no, you cannot do it better. I'm sorry. This doesn't work when there's 50 of you. So like, but they won't do that because they're still looking at potential revenue, and it doesn't really matter if it collapses or not.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the one line I think about from The Office a lot that I think Andy said is, I wish I knew when I was in the good times before they're gone. And that was me using Netflix in 2011 and being able to watch a ton of movies and shows. And then like 2 years later, signing up for Hulu, and that had everything else. Like that, if you had like, that was like you having a gaming PC and a Nintendo Switch, where just between those crossover, you can play every video game ever made. That is what it was like, and that is now gone.
It's kind of funny to me because I've never been a Netflix subscriber, and here I am, just like, I don't I'll never know what I missed, except I know exactly what I missed, but I'll never really know.
Yeah.
Like, I've used Netflix, but
Yeah, I have never paid for Netflix myself. It was
yeah.
it was the thing that my parents had, and then at some point I mostly stopped caring about what was on there, like a couple of years ago, and then they did the remote limitations, and it's not really worth trying to work around that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've used it at other people's places and stuff like that, so it's not like I
But we
don't
were
know how it works, but
yeah
yeah, I'll
we were pretty early to the Netflix. We watched Netflix on the Nintendo Wii, on our Wii. That's how early we were.
yeah.
And it didn't work that well because the Wii was had a max resolution of 480p, and even at the time, that was not very good. That was not ideal.
Let's be fair, that was never very good.
Yeah. It was, wasn't quite as primitive technology as the like PS2 version of Netflix that they would send you on a disc. We didn't have a PS2. It was still an app you could download.
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna leave that alone anyway. So yeah, the streaming wars have turned everything so weirdly bad. Um, I mean, there was also a story. I don't have a link handy for it, and I'm not gonna bother tracking it down. But there was also a story that I believe it was, yeah, it was Warner Brothers Discovery has decided that they're no longer going to try to sell off part of their business, or rather, well, they're still going to sell off part of their business, but they're not going to try to split up the TV channel from the streaming network. Instead, they're going to try to sell off some of their smaller properties, which includes like some foreign channels that they maintained and whatever random little stuff. But it, look, this is a company that used to do pretty well for itself. They used to make pretty good money, and here they can't seem to manage anything, even after being acquired. Like that's getting weird and ugly, and it's hard to believe that companies are having this much trouble figuring out their basic finances. Which also raises the question: is it that business majors just don't know how business works, or is this actually that hard? I feel like it's a little column A and a little column B, but a lot of column A.
It's pretty incredible. And David said, "Let's go back to over the air again." I never left. Well, let me correct that. The entire time I lived with my parents, we had some version of cable, and then I moved out, and I'm not paying for TV. That's insane. So I did get an antenna, and I've had that since I lived here, and that's how I'm watching Olympics right now for a grand total of $0. I just got a new HD home run tuner that I got on eBay for like $30, and it's 10 years old, and I plugged it into my NAS, and that's now I have TV streaming and recording. It's great. Except it's not, because like half the TV stations don't come in all that well, because I am at ground level and I cannot put an antenna outside. Um, but NBC works. That's fine.
I would like to point out, because anyone hearing this right now might be thinking, oh, hey, really? Does that work? That sounds like a neat idea. I'd like to point out, I have been present for a lot of Corbin's struggles with this system. Anything from trying multiple places around his apartment to mount the antenna, to various struggles with the fact that trees grow, and once trees are in the way of a signal, that pretty much kills it, to obviously getting almost no
trees,
channels. Just coincidentally,
right,
he gets the channel he needs for Olympics. But and plus the cost of the equipment that he's purchased, which I will grant over a long enough timeline would work out. But
right.
but
None of this is changing.
the cost that he has incurred is more than it would cost to just get a NBC subscription for the 1 month he would need to watch the Olympics every 2 years. Do you watch both summer and winter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, it is a little bit of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, my counterpoint is that I don't care about the stuff on the channels I'm not getting, if that makes sense.
And
like, I don't.
That is valid.
So that's a plus. There's like there's some sports stuff that is on one channel. That doesn't really work. But that's it. Everything else is on the ones that work. So anyway, Streaming continues to be a big old mess, big mess, and I think I'm affected in this one because this says Hulu. A year of Hulu with ads is $100 now, and I think I was paying 80 80 for that on my last renewal. I'll check. But I'm on the year of ad supported Hulu, um, which thankfully I can just watch through the Disney Plus app. I don't have to use Hulu's garbage software anymore. Um, the ads are still kind of a lot, but if I watch on my computer, I can use ad block. And then on top of that, I have a add-on for Disney Plus without ads, which I think is $2 or $3 a month and has not existed for a long time. So I'm good. I'm. This is still acceptable to me. If I was like one of these people paying, what is it, $20 a month for just Hulu with no ads or something, I'd bail. But
yeah,
I'm okay with what I have for now. This is acceptable to me. And then I still get Max with ads for free from my phone. So
yeah. All I can say is at this stage, I don't blame anybody who's decided to go to the high seas for their TV viewing experience. I know you can't really do that with live sports, but other than that, it's hard to blame anybody.
yeah, my let's see. Yeah, my Disney Plus. Oh, my Disney Plus with no ads add-on did go up. It's going to be $3.20. That's a oh wait, no. The Hulu billing interface is confusing. I don't fully understand what's happening. I think it's still
Pretty
like
sure that's on purpose.
It's around $3, so that's okay. Anyway,
Okay.
what else is there?
Okay. Well, let's see. I figured this is probably a good time. Let's just talk about the DOJ monopoly trial, and then we'll close out on the streamer.
Yeah. So, I'd forgotten that Google was under like illegal monopoly antitrust investigations. I saw this initially. I was like, oh, is this the one I was thinking about? No, that was Apple. Apple is also being investigated for antitrust stuff.
Yeah, which fun fact,
so
not that it's important, but they just filed to try to have that case thrown out, which is going to not work out.
Yeah. So what is this? I think it's just yeah, okay. So U.S. District Court in the District of Columbia officially said that Google is doing antitrust. They're violating Section 2 of the Sherman Act, which for all you tech history nerds out there is the same one that Microsoft was found to be violating in the 90s, and then the case got bungled, so nothing happened. And that was the same one that AT&T was found to be violating, and just before they were going to have to suffer the wrath of the federal government, they struck a deal to just do what probably would have happened anyway and just break up AT&T. Of course, then they were allowed to mostly merge back together again, but that was nice for a while. And that was also the same. I believe, I know it was the Sherman Act. I don't know exactly what section, but the Sherman Act was also what was used to break up Standard Oil into a bunch of different oil companies, which again also merged back together. They're now mostly Exxon.
Wouldn't it be cool if I could just rattle off the exact section of the Sherman Act that's relevant here? I can't. I'm not going to try.
Okay.
I could make up a number. It would be wrong.
You just pick your favorite number. So yeah, we don't know like what's going to happen yet, because Google can appeal the decision and maybe do what Microsoft, or sorry, not Microsoft, AT&T did, which is like before a full judgment is rendered, like when they know they're screwed, they will go try to do a settlement with the government. So not really sure yet. It seems like it's not going to be just a fine because through its infinite wisdom, even the U.S. federal government understands sometimes that just a fine doesn't work. That's not enough to change anything because it's usually like what these companies make in like a week. So it might be, this is mostly about their search engine deals. So this could be Google search gets broken off into a different company. Maybe other parts of Google get broken off into other companies. Oh, I did a thumbs up accidentally. I love that. I don't really know yet. So that will be very interesting. I'm very interested in what happens to, obviously whatever happens to Google search would be huge because this is still like a pretty crucial part of the like the global economy of like information, especially with publishers. I'm in a biased position here, but keeping Google search functional is kind of important, although keeping is maybe not the right word because it hasn't been that functional for a while, but something will happen there.
There have been some
I'm
struggles, yes.
Yeah, I'm interested in what happens to the web browser market as a result of this, because deals with web browsers is a huge part of this, especially in relation to. I've seen a couple people bring up what happens to Mozilla with this, because right now they are sustained almost entirely through their deal with Google to have Google as the search engine in Firefox. I would assume that if we've got to this point, the federal government would not just be like, oh, you can't do those deals anymore, and then look at Mozilla and be like, whatever, like if the motivation here is fixing the problem, I would imagine there would be some kind of new agreement there. But who knows? Like Apple's fine. Apple will not crumble into dust if they lose out on some search exclusivity money. It would be a lot of money they would lose, but it wouldn't. They have other places they make money. They're okay. Also, last thing, I would be very interested in what happens to Chrome specifically, because it's been pretty closely tied with Google. Like Google search has always been the main. Yeah, and like very like there's a lot of integrations with Google search and Chrome that do not exist when you use other search engines. So, I think it'd be very, very fun and unique twist if like Chrome had to be its own company, and like maybe Chromium becomes like the Linux people, where it's just like one organization that like everyone dumps resources into and then uses for their own stuff. That'd be fun. I don't think that's going to happen, but it'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a lot of possibilities here. Very exciting.
Yeah. So, oh boy, for starters, whatever happens, I would be shocked if it happens anywhere this decade. Or at least anything of substance happens anywhere this decade, because first, Google is going to take this through the appeals process. This is 100% going to be a very slow, tedious, long, drawn out situation. So, if I remember correctly, this lawsuit was filed, I want to say back in 2021 or 2022. Let's see. The
CNN article does not have a date.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall. Anyway, regardless, the point is, this already took a while. This was not a fast moving process, even though we heard about it a few times. It got mentioned here and there, but kind of just disappeared into the ether. This is going to take a while, because Google is going to appeal. Then they're going to file another appeal. They're going to keep filing appeals until they run out of courts that they can appeal in. And the appeals are not going to add new things to this. All Google has to do now is just keep filing appeals and trying to chip away at any sort of punishment or any sort of verdict until such time that it is something that either they finally reach the stage of saying, you know what, this costs so little, let's just pay the whatever's left and we move on. Or the day comes where they run out of appeals and something actually happens. In either case, this is years out.
Yeah, and also very much depends on how the election goes this year. Because
we all
now now complaining about big tech companies is a bipartisan issue, but they would handle it very differently.
Yeah.
And I did check Wikipedia, and I didn't realize there are two distinct antitrust lawsuits against Google, which is where I think I was getting confused. The one that this judgment for is the 2021. That was about the search engine and violating Section 2. And then there was the other one filed last year that is about Sections 1 and 2 of the Sherman Act and is about their advertising tech. So that's the other one. That one is supposedly going to go to trial in September. So it's still not at the jury stage yet.
Yeah. And you can tell from both of those dates when they were filed, it's taken a while just to get this far. So once they reach a courtroom, things actually move relatively quick, but getting to the courtroom is a multi-year process. So, and look, if you pay close enough attention to politics, you've seen this already. With a particular convicted criminal, the strategy is often just keep delaying until such time as people either lose interest, which actually does sometimes happen in court cases, or your situation changes so much that you can basically kind of evade the punishments, or at least you can minimize the punishments by having already changed something about your strategy or your behaviors, that when the judge looks at it and says, oh, well, how do we punish you for this? It's no longer relevant to do the thing that would have been done 5 years ago. So now let's just fine you. Because, what else are we supposed to do here? And in all likelihood, that's pretty much what Google's going to play off of. Because that's the smart play for a company to do, is just basically delay it out and then tweak whatever you need to in order to sort of evade the specifics of a lawsuit's focus.
Yeah, and it's fun for me to think about the extremes of what Google could have to do, but this could also just end up in them doing not even all, just some of the stuff that the European Union already makes them do. So you buy a new Android phone and you have to manually select which search engine you want to use and maybe what browser you use or something like that. It could just be something as minimal as that. And then most people choose Google anyway.
Yeah.
But at least they were presented a choice.
That reminds me of too many of the old what is the term, the thought experiments of when people always say you thought you had a choice but you really didn't have a choice, that kind of right. Stuff, because boy, it is what it is. And obviously the news that made its rounds this morning the presumption that Apple would only want to use Google, that they looked at Bing and said, you know, this search is unsuitable for us. It just doesn't work. It's not good enough. I still take issue with kind of the sourcing of that because it's a little unclear. It seems like it's something that came out of an email, I think, from Discovery.
Right.
But regardless, it basically paints Bing as a failed search engine, which isn't exactly wrong.
Which is, well, like, for a while, Apple's default on iPhones was Yahoo.
Yeah.
Which I think in all of, like, I don't know how far this goes back, at least a decade, has been mostly Bing. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a silly thing for them to say, but, you know, whatever. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, maybe, you know, the feds give Apple and other companies, like, they take money from Google and give that to other companies and say build search engines. That would be interesting because I think I really don't know why Apple doesn't have a search engine already, except just that they get fact checks from Google. That's really the only reason, because they're already indexing a lot of the web. They've had like sort of a very basic search framework in Siri for a while. And now they've been using all that web indexing to steal web pages to train their AI. So they have all that infrastructure built up. They could put it to use as a search engine if they wanted to. But I guess the checks from Google are preferable. So,
Well, I mean, that's always going to be the case. Anytime a company can not do a thing and get paid to not do a thing, that's probably more profitable.
yeah. I mean, but by that same logic, then like Apple Maps wouldn't exist. So, like, they've done it sometimes. It depends. And they've certainly
Yeah, but that was a
tried to
leveraging
build.
issue.
Yeah, and they've tried to build other things for themselves that haven't worked out. So, yeah, I don't know. Gonna be interesting for sure. I can't wait for just nothing to happen somehow miraculously.
Oh, I'm fully prepared to wait for nothing to happen.
Yeah.
Honestly, that, like, to some extent, and I don't want to frame this as something that we shouldn't talk about. We absolutely had to talk about this, but there's an element to this where I feel like this is the biggest non-news possibly of the year. Like, a thing happened, but it didn't happen. It won't really happen. It's not really gonna matter. But oh my god, this huge thing happened.
Right. This is exactly like every news article about like a bill passing the Senate or a bill passing the House. We're like, yeah, it's important, but we're like 5 more steps away from anything happening. And then, like, you know, when the House says like the District of Columbia is a state now, it's like, yeah, that's big. That's pretty big. Nothing will happen.
Yeah.
That's good, I guess. So yeah, we'll see. What I think would be very funny is if the feds force Google Search to be an independent company, and then they nationalize that after they nationalize Intel, and then they have this built up U.S. infrastructure for tech. So you can do your web searches with like Freedom Search on your laptop with your Freedom Core i5.
Wow.
Let's just go full USSR. Just do it. Just do it all. I think that mostly worked out great.
Corbin turns the U.S. into Venezuela. Episode 1.
Look, you know, USSR did a lot of things wrong, but also their space capsule from 50 years ago is still working. So they can do, you know, sometimes the tech stuff works out. They couldn't get to the moon. Their rocket kept exploding for that. But
Careful, Corbin. You're one step away from commending certain authoritarian rulers for keeping the trains running on time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I won't go that far. I am about to get a knock at my door for communism beliefs. So it was nice knowing you all.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the pre-code era in Hollywood, or the Hollywood blacklist.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, we have to lay off Cody from Mindspace because we're having a low revenue, and also I will be fired for expressing my beliefs. So just no one will be here, and we'll let AI generate the show.
AI handles everything.
Yeah.
On the plus side, think of the plus side. The art is gonna look way better. And if you're sitting there going, wait, what art? Exactly.
Right.
There will be some.
This RambleCast has so many community notes. Nothing I've said is untrue.
I mean,
the USSR may have done many terrible things, but they did in fact build a rocket that Russia's still using 50 years later because it's fine. It's not great. It's fine. It's getting to the ISS. Boeing's space capsule is not. I didn't put that in notes, but that's another thing that happened today is all of the poor astronauts that got to the ISS on Boeing's piece of shit spaceship that's been stuck there for like a month or 2 months. I don't know. When it's supposed to go back to Earth after like 3 days. It's still there. It'll probably stay there because they don't know what's wrong with it. So those guys will probably go home on the next bus.
Yeah.
So probably a SpaceX or another Russian capsule.
Yeah. Oh well, those damn door plugs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least the window didn't open when they were going into space. That would have been unfortunate. Maybe it would on the way back if they hadn't stayed there.
I feel reasonably confident the paint's chipping at the very least.
Yeah. Yeah, and the seats are really uncomfortable.
Oh god, yeah. Well, come on. Have you flown in a Boeing flight? The seats are always uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen pictures of like the inside of the Soyuz, I think it's how it's pronounced, the Russian capsule, and it is about as much legroom as I got on my on my last flight. So Boeing will find a way to make that worse. Anyway,
Boeing engineering, making people uncomfortable since Boeing founded.
Right.
Okay, so while we're beating up on Google, let's close with beating up on Google. And I know some people are probably going to be looking at the like, wait a second, what are you talking about? How is this beating up on Google? Let's talk about the Google TV streamer.
God, let me just say up front, I don't know what person at Google had was dropped as a baby, and then somehow became in charge of like all of the brand names and marketing for everything TV related. I don't know what happened. I don't know who's letting that happen. But the fact that we had such iconic brand names as Chromecast, where you cast your tab from Chrome, perfect, no notes. And then we had Android TV, which is the Android that goes on your TV. And then we had a couple things that like maybe didn't make sense. Like, I don't know what a Nexus Q is. No one knows. It looks cool, but I don't know what it does. Nexus Player, that's fine. That's closer to what it's supposed to be. And then we had Android TV becoming Google TV, which is also, while Android TV continued to exist for a while, and then Google TV is also the name of their like front end like thing where you watch movies and shows, but then some of that also lives in YouTube, and it keeps moving back and forth. And then Google keeps changing the API for Chromecast, where sometimes they call it Chromecast and sometimes they call it Google Cast. And I'm not joking, they changed that at least twice. I know they did it again recently.
Sir,
and
I will have you know, this is not just a problem with their TV related products. Sure. Everything Google has ever done. Carson is actually listing a few. I'm gonna throw in.
That's right.
Never forget, they made Android Auto, and then a couple years later, like, you know what, Android Automotive, and then when they realized many years later that's a little confusing, maybe that's not working well, they decided to brand it with Google built in. That's what Android Automotive is now, with Google built in. The word "with" is actually part of the branding. Look, they are bad at naming. I used to think Microsoft was bad at naming because, oh man, Microsoft branding, especially among development tools, was comical. Every 3 years, well, every 3 to 5 years, every single thing would get a rename of some kind. And not just the year. Like, they would rename things in really significant ways, but at least it always kind of followed a path, a broken, damaged, deranged path, but at least it followed a path. Google, oh damn it, okay, it only woke up one device. This company is so spectacularly bad at it. This can only be described as the word salad that you would get like in the tag storm on an old like 2000s era website. They literally just spun the wheel multiple times until they got enough words that they were like, okay, this is good. Which, lucky for us, they only spun the wheel twice, or I guess maybe 3 times, because the brand name Google had to appear, but they could have gone with Nest, they could have gone with Android, whatever. But they went with Google, they went with TV, and they went with streamer because they needed the tag salad in the name. This is actually, I dare say, it's an unpleasant name, but it's at least a name that makes sense. I'm still on the Google, side it sucks, but at least it makes sense.
Google's bad with a lot of stuff. Yeah, I think Google TV is the worst offender, just because they have 2 functionally completely different things with the exact same name. Android Auto and Android Automotive is very close. Google TV to me is very silly, and also when they were, like you said, mixing up with Chromecast, where now we have something called Chromecast with Google TV. What is that? How do I explain that to a normal person? Riddle me this.
Okay, now in a second I'm going to really ruin your argument, but well, not ruin it, but derail it just a little bit. But I'm gonna call out that yes, they have a software product that is called Google TV, and they have a hardware product now that is called Google TV. I'm with you on that. And for those history buffs out there, you'll remember that there actually used to be another hardware product called Google TV. Many, many years ago, they actually had a thing where...
I forgot about that.
For a second, I thought that's what you were referencing, and then I realized, nope, that's not where you're going with that.
No, that's the other thing. That's the third Google TV.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So
this company.
I am with you on the argument that in terms of that, the name's kind of busted. And that old, for those that don't remember, the old Google TV product was hilarious. It was a fairly sizable streaming box. And not just streaming, it could do a few things, but it was really more kind of like a web TV style of product where your remote was literally a full-size keyboard. No joke. They sold you a full-size keyboard along with a streaming box, and you could use it basically like those old web TVs where you had a browser. And the kind of neat thing about these things is they actually had pass-through HDMI pass-throughs. So you could plug in a DVD player, you could plug in your cable. I think it was intended for cable. And it would show overlays on top of this stuff, and it actually was capable of interpreting what you were watching to identify stuff, and then give you additional content or context on top of whatever it is you were watching. And they didn't do a lot with this. It really, like, the way I'm describing it is overselling it, but it actually was a neat idea that was just very hacky and incomplete. And it'd be kind of nice if they brought a few of those small things back, but actually like do it good. Okay. Now, I said I was going to derail this, and I have to. You do know.
I thought you already derailed. I thought that was the derail.
Oh no, here's the derail of your argument. Okay. You do know that Apple makes Apple TV, and Apple TV, and Apple TV Plus. Those are all four different things. They have a hardware product, a software platform, a software product. Well, okay, I'll count the software product and the software platform together, whatever. And a service and a subscription. All of these are Apple TV, though one of them they tacked a plus on at the end. So Apple is actually worse than Google on this. They actually are.
Yeah.
Oh, also, that's Apple TV has existed in multiple forms under the same name. But in that case, I will actually give them a pass because, you know what? Hardware products are allowed to evolve. I'm not going to complain if you say, yeah, we had this thing, it used to be this, now it's turned into this. That's fine. Not going to hold that against them. But technically, if you wanted to make the argument, that also makes them worse. Kind of.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Google. This is a travesty of branding, and as president of the United States, I will change this. Anyway, okay. So I'm so glad we have not even talked about the box. Anyway, so the Google TV Streamer, that is a terrible name. Like, just on top of everything wrong with using Google TV as a name, why is it called Streamer? I know it's just like people say streaming device, but I don't like this. Call it something else. Call it the Google TV box. I don't know. There's different words you guys can use. Anyway, this is a $100 streaming device. It's more high end than the Chromecast. So like basically the equivalent to this in, like, you know, Roku has their Roku streaming stick and their streaming stick plus and like those mid-range devices, and then they also have the Roku Ultra, which is like the slightly bigger box that doesn't, like, you know, plug into your TV's USB port. It has like its own power supply and it has more ports and can do a little bit more. That's what Google's trying to do here. They're going for that. They're going for the like Apple TV box, you know, market segment. So this runs like the same Google TV software as the Chromecast with Google TV and all the smart TVs with that OS on it, basically identical. It has almost exactly the same remote, but now compared to the earlier ones, there is a button on the back of the box you can click to find the remote, which Roku also does. I don't know if I don't think this remote has like a headphone jack on it or like TV volume controls or anything like that, which Roku does.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing one. And yeah, that is such a neat feature when it exists.
Yeah.
I think the Walmart one even had that.
Yeah, the pictures on the product page show someone like pairing that they say you can pair Nest speakers or like Bluetooth earbuds. I'm like, no, that's gross. Um, so yeah, and the remote is remote's almost the same. Most of the upgrades are like internal hardware, so has a different chip in it. It has, I think they said 30, was it 64? No, 32 gigs of storage, which is a lot more than the 8 on the Chromecast with Google TV. So hopefully this is not the box where you have to continuously uninstall apps to make room. That's still not a lot, but maybe that's enough. I don't know. But it also has a built-in Ethernet port. So, for everyone who has maybe like a better Wi-Fi like mesh node next to their TV, or even a hardline connection, there you go. You got your Ethernet. No silly adapters required. It's just on there. It's also a Matter Hub and Thread border router for Google Home, smart home stuff. It supports 4K, HDR10, Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, all that fun stuff. Carson said disappointed, no Wi-Fi 6. Yeah, this has Wi-Fi 5. So, it does. I don't think it matters. I don't think that matters a ton. Yeah. But I would have said that up until we got like Wi-Fi 7, where now it would be extremely useful to be able to use that extra band for streaming that nothing else is using right now. If you have Wi-Fi 6E or Wi-Fi 7 hardware, can't do that here. You got to use the very congested 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bands, unless you're Cody and you live in the middle of nowhere. Then you have no wireless interference. So there's that.
Yay.
And this, I don't know, this seems fine. $100 is kind of a lot, and Google said that they're done selling Chromecasts, which seems especially bizarre to me, because Roku and Amazon both have something like a Chromecast and something like this, and they've had them for a while, and they can sell both.
Okay, so I'm inclined to come back to that part in a little bit. Quickly touching on the specs a little deeper. A few things relating to specs. One, no question, if you compare this to the Walmart model, they're using the same chipset. The only spec difference is that this comes with 4 gigs of RAM instead of 3. And the Walmart model has Wi-Fi 6. So that proves they could have done Wi-Fi 6. And, as I expressed in Discord, I think it honestly, they should have just pushed for a more modern version of Wi-Fi, just if for no other reason, then why not? Because even the upgrade from 5 to 6 is really significant. It actually, when you start reading through the list of features that 6 has, it's not small. It really, really actually is a much more efficient way of transmitting data. And in congested environments, or in environments where you might not have the best signal, let's say you're transmitting through a wall, especially a wall with metal in it or something, Wi-Fi 6 handles that so much better. So I think in many, many ways it really would have made a difference if they had gone for Wi-Fi 6 or 6E ideally. And of course, if they could have gone to 7, holy crap. But I'm going to counter that by also saying, and unless you are the type of person who's throwing full bitwise dumps of your or rips of your Blu-rays, your 4K HDR Blu-rays, unless that's what you're streaming, chances are almost anything is going to be fine technically over Wi-Fi 5 or gigabit. It's only those really, really super high bit rate situations where you're talking about needing more bandwidth than what those give you. It's when you combine that with congested environments or unideal environments like transmitting through walls, that's where you really should have a better, more modern option. So, I mean, strictly speaking, the specs are fine, but they're not. Like, they should have been better.
Yeah, it like Wi-Fi 7 would mostly just be future-proofing still, but like this could be something you keep for years. I don't know, because Google also doesn't say how long they intend to update this. So, and also I'm gonna go insane because I clicked the tech specs page, and under operating system they say Android tvOS.
Yeah.
I thought we just were Google TV. Whatever.
No. Actually, technically, Google TV is the interface that Google makes for it. Android TV OS is the actual operating system.
Right. But like,
it's sort of like Wear OS versus Google's specific like Wear OS interface.
Yeah, I guess I know they still talk about Android tvOS in like developer documentation. Like, here's your Android tvOS 12 image, guys. Here, go make your apps. But like, they don't let OEMs like license that anymore. Like, it has to be Google TV.
I think they do with tvOS. But I don't know if they license it per se, but I know I'm pretty sure some companies just use it.
Right. Yeah, they can build off AOSP,
So yeah, I mean, I'm with you, but I think this is one of the cases where some intern was just filling in the fields and was like, what do I put here? And some manager's like, who cares? Just Android tvOS.
I saw during I figured that's what they were doing, and I went and checked, and Google is doing the very sneaky, clever thing that companies like to do, where on this page, on this specs page for the streamer box, under connectivity, where it says Wi-Fi, it spells it out as the Wi-Fi 802.11 AC, which is Wi-Fi 5.
Yes.
But if you go to a Pixel phone page, it says Wi-Fi 6. So they're not trying to really, let you know what version it is here. That's really fun. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I have like no interest in this product category. So I don't really care about this a ton. I just think the name is stupid. I'm kind of questioning their decision to kill off Chromecast. But also, like, I don't know, like, what, I don't know. The position they were in was very weird, because I think for, with the Chromecast for so long, they were trying to build it as an extension to a connected phone or tablet. And I don't think that was ever really like a good experience, especially if we like, even when I had like Android phones, like I remember I stopped using Chromecast after a certain point because they would always just like forget that I was casting, and eventually I just lose control of whatever was on the screen and have to go dig in the Google Home app to go, pause my show again. And so with the, Chromecast with Google TV, they were very clearly trying to, turn it into more like Roku or Amazon, where it's a self-contained thing. But the hardware sucked, so that wasn't a good experience. And so now we're here, where we have the $100 box. And it needs to be its own self-contained thing so that it can integrate all the apps and show you ads and sponsored stuff that you can't really do in the same way if you just have something as simple as a Chromecast.
So, okay, and this is where I'm going to agree with you and add to it. But really quick, as a we're gonna live fact check Corbin on this. The Pixel 8 Pro, and I believe this is true, the Pixel 8 also, under connectivity and location, it is not Wi-Fi 6, it is actually Wi-Fi 7. I know this because I'm supposed to review a Wi-Fi 7 router, actually a few, And believe me, I know that this is the only device in my house that supports Wi-Fi 7. Which won't matter because, again, I live out in the middle of nowhere. Which is awesome. Well, only for that. But yeah, anyway, so it's older Pixel phones that are Wi-Fi 6. All right, so that little bit of fact-checking aside, I consider this an incredibly confusing device in a lot of ways. So much to take what you were saying, I'm going to add to it and again kind of beat up on them for the fact that Walmart made this same device for $50 with a very minimal tweaking of the specs. Like, you know that an extra gig of RAM definitely does not cost $50. And again, Google is downgrading the Wi-Fi standards, so you know they're not even living up to the same basic threshold. Now, so okay, fine. Google wants to charge more. It is what it is. I find myself looking at the specs, and for streaming purposes, these specs are great. Like, they are way above and beyond what anybody needs for quote unquote streaming. Look, I've been running.
The days of like Google like trying to make this anything resembling like gaming is gone.
And I'm getting there.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and that's kind of, yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, in terms of streaming, look, I've been using an original NVIDIA Shield all this time, and it runs great. And okay, yes, the processor in that thing is way overpowered for everything. That's actually meant to be a gaming processor, or a system on a chip. This hardware box is not that. I mean, it's not really meant to be a good gaming platform. It could be for, you know, your typical average Android game, but that's about it. Like, it's nothing special. It's not going to compete with game consoles. I mean, maybe a little bit the Nintendo Wii, but that's only because the Wii is such garbage hardware. But all things considered, this isn't really meant to be a gaming platform. But it's objectively pretty much overkill for streaming, which of course brings back the branding choice. Why call it the Google TV Streamer when this is really, really deep overkill for streaming? Also, with the specs that it has, it's actually kind of dumb that this is capped at 4K. They legitimately could have probably raised this to 8K. Maybe, you know, use up a little bit of that headroom that the extra $50 they're charging for this thing would be taking. Which I know 8K is probably a little ambitious, but I just feel like throwing out that maybe this needs to be a little bit more souped up if it's going to compete with something half its price. And in general, like, great, they solved with 32 gigs of storage. They've mostly solved how much you can put apps on here. 32 gigs is going to cover any app you're going to want to install. Not the games, but the apps. Any streaming app will easily fit on this, no question. You have enough space that you could even download YouTube videos to watch offline if that's a thing you actually needed. Or, you know, anything like that. The memory, 4 gigs. That's fine. It's way, way below what any phone has. So obviously it's not meant to, again, game. It's not meant to run a bunch of stuff in the background. Hey, Vortexing, how's it going? But what is 4 gigs doing in this thing? I'm sure it's future-proofing to an extent, but lots of other devices are going to be perfectly fine on 3. As a matter of fact, if you go looking at the current NVIDIA streaming devices, if I remember, hold on. If I remember correctly, the current NVIDIA streaming devices, I want to say, are 1.5 and 2. I could have that wrong. I'm checking real quick.
They're so old.
No. These are the current ones, which are, yes, still old.
Well,
but
yeah, I think they're. I don't know when the last time those were updated.
Let's see. Where are they at... Does this one not show? Okay, sorry. So the Shield TV, this, for reference, is the one that's actually just a little streaming stick with a remote. This has the Tegra X1 Plus with 2 gigabytes of RAM. And this is, I think, a 2-year-old device. Something like that. I might have that wrong, but it's somewhere in that very, very close territory. The Pro, this is their device. It's actually meant to be a gaming device. That's got 3 gigs. So Google is shipping something with more RAM than a gaming device, but a processor that's not particularly gaming centric. And again, great, future-proof it. But why? What is this thing going to do? What's it going to run? What purpose is this thing serving that this makes sense? And then, like, why is it costing more by double what Walmart's is? Like, this is a confusing product. It doesn't feel like anyone sat down and said, let's make something that makes sense. It feels more like somebody sat down and said, I don't know, Apple charges a lot for theirs. Let's just make one that no one's going to complain about the specs. And
yeah, the two things that stand out to me here is, we know that like hardware design takes a long time. Like, you know, by the time this year's Pixels come out, like the design for the next Pixels are going to be pretty much done, right? And a big selling point for this is Matter, which I'm assuming when this was being developed,
they thought that would be a thing.
Right, they thought it would be a thing, and now it's like very barely a thing. So that was probably going to be a bigger selling point than it ended up being today. And again, to the point about the Walmart thing, like a distinction Google could have made, because they make it with all of their phones and tablets, and I think smartwatches, is like, we will update this for 5 years or however long.
Yeah.
And like, that is a guarantee. You can take that to the bank. That is something Walmart will not give you. You're lucky if you get a single update. You should be thankful for what you get.
Dude, you're forcing me into fact check days, dude.
No, I know they have
supporting that thing super
well. I know, but that's what I mean, right? Is like, that's more than you would expect for that when there's not a guarantee. And Google could have differentiated their product by being like, we will support this just like we support all of our phones and like Chromebooks and whatever else, but they're not doing that.
Actually, I'm okay. This isn't a fact check, but this is now complicating this subject a little bit more. The irony is, whatever date range Google gives, people are going to criticize. I'm going to guarantee that. You know why? Because Nvidia has completely turbo effed the entire market by supporting their original Shield. I think still gets updates. Did they?
Yeah.
I'm not aware of that getting canceled. I don't get a lot of updates on it anymore, but yeah, I mean, no one can compete with a company that is just like, nah, we just don't believe in end-of-lifing products. Like,
yeah, they're just like, you know, the earth will turn to dust, but you will get this month's security update on your Shield TV.
It's more like once a year updates, but okay. You know, still at this stage.
Okay. Wait, is this? I forget what. Okay, so they have Shield TV. So the last one on their website says a Android patch security level of April 2022. So that is quite old now. I think they're done.
Okay.
But that's still like, it works. Like, you know.
I mean,
probably not.
That's still, I think, I'm pretty sure that was over 10 years of updates, or at least somewhere in the ballpark of that. So I'm going to declare that is spectacular coverage. Any number Google gives for its commitment is going to fall short of Nvidia. So people are still going to criticize it. So, and I'm not disagreeing with your point. I think they absolutely should have come forward with at least a firm commitment, but the counter to that is, they're still going to get dogged on pretty heavily.
And it's so funny that like Nvidia is this giant company and the Shield was never like anything close to a successful product. And
Yeah.
they were just like, yeah, like it's fine, we'll keep up. It doesn't matter. Like we're making so much money right now between like the gaming and then the crypto mining rush and then the AI rush. So like doesn't matter, dude. We can let Ted over there you know download the AOSP branch once a month and get some updates out. That's fine.
Which honestly, I've always wondered if that's exactly what this is. Like, either they hire or cycle through like some interns and say, "Here, your task this
Yeah.
month is you update this thing to the latest."
It's
Either
just a
that
bash
or
script.
I've always wondered, like, is this just one of the side projects that a few people at the company are just like, no, you know what? We don't care.
Yeah.
We've got a little extra time. We just want to do this. Like, we want to do this because people love it. It could go either way. It doesn't matter. But yeah, this the fact that it's been such a well-supported device throughout history is to become an actual meme about Android support. Like that's kind of special.
Yeah,
And it
and like,
hurts Google's reputation that they haven't been so good with this.
well, I mean, and that seems like then it should be motivation for Google to say like 10 years,
Yeah,
because like with Pixel phones are up to what,
7.
7? Yeah, so like for a TV thing, unless the like way we watch TV significantly changes in 5 years, which it doesn't seem like it will, there should, I think they can squeeze out a lot, and maybe they will. That's yet to be determined, but they won't. They won't make a promise there. Carson said they probably have the whole thing automated, so it's hardly yeah, it's just like a bash script running on one of their servers.
I'm sure it's a little more complicated than that because you're gonna have code conflicts and probably some driver issues in there too. But yeah, I doubt it's the sort of thing that's taking them like weeks or months of testing. It's just something that they probably, had to do. They, like I said, they probably just have to task somebody with doing like a couple days worth of work, which is mostly just testing, and it's easy enough. But yeah, they really should have come through with clear commitments for support. I think that they should have souped up the hardware either a little bit more or brought the price down, because, and this brings us back into that topic of cheaper dongles, they're leaving behind a market of low cost devices. I mean, who out there was looking at the lower end Chromecast and saying, "Oh, this was bad because it was cheap"? I mean, sure, it's not very good because it's cheap, but it was fine. It was enough to handle streaming for sure. And people like that. They liked it because they could just buy it. Literally, they could walk into a store with $100, buy a stack of these things, and hey, look at that. You can put it on every TV in your house. That's a great deal. That is a great argument. Here is a device that doesn't actually do anything more, and it costs $100. Oh, okay, and fine.
Yeah,
The remote's a little nicer. They upgraded a few things, but in terms of quality of life, it's going to be a little faster, a little smoother, and the remote's a little nicer, and it's going to cost you 3 times as much.
Yeah,
That's not a good sales pitch.
When Roku does this, like, I'm sure they're not making a lot of money off their, low end sticks either, but they make up for it in advertising, which is now the market Google has copied. It's like, that shouldn't be a problem. Like, they could even sell us at a loss and probably still a loss initially. Yeah, thank you. And then it keeps going. Now, I do wonder if maybe Google is going to pull the classic like Motorola OnePlus move, where in 3 weeks this will be 50% off, and then it will stay that way for the rest of its functional life. Maybe that will happen.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd be down to see that. I would also kind of be open to the idea of maybe this could become one of their next like we include this with or we give it away as a prize for kind of stuff. Like anyone who's been subscribed to YouTube Premium long enough, maybe they'll be like, you know what,
Right.
Google streamers for all of you. Sorry, TV streamers for all of you. Maybe I don't know. This could become part of maybe a bundle or a batch where they could release more devices that rely on Thread or Matter, and they'll say, okay, here's some stuff. Now, if you get it with this streaming box, it'll have some sort of special pricing or something like that. I don't know, but it feels like the price right now is for show, and what they intend to do is have a ton of headroom to discount this thing way lower. And even to that end, I do kind of wonder if come like Black Friday, if this is going to be just one of their crazy like, oh, this time only or right away get this for $65 or something. Like this will be their big deep discount item because they really want everyone to get it.
Yeah, or like, order a Pixel 9, get one of these for free, something.
Yeah, the only thing is we've supposedly already seen their Pixel 9 deals, and presumably no free hardware. It's going to instead be like automatic upgrades to your Pixel 9. So basically more storage. Plus I think there was a rumor of free AI for a year or something. I don't remember if that was actually considered part of it, but we'll see.
Yeah, and Diablo linked a security updates page that has guaranteed security dates for everything except the new box.
Yes.
It lists the Chromecast, Google TV, and everything else. So maybe that'll eventually get added. I see the. Oh yeah. Yeah, I wonder. I think I have like one of each generation of Chromecast. I think. I might be. I think I might be missing like a third gen, but I have the first one and then one more that's one of the puck ones.
I have definitely the original OG Chromecast. I might even have two of those. I have at least. I think I have at least two of the regular pod Chromecasts. It might only be one, but I thought it was two. And then I have... Thank you, Stadia. I have at least 3 Chromecast Ultras. Maybe more. I'm not exactly sure anymore, but I have several of those. And I never got a Chromecast with Google TV. I never got the other version that came out since then. And right now, I'm looking at the TV streamer and look, I've got just over $100 in Google Play credit. And I'm looking at this device and I'm really struggling with it because I can't really find any reason to upgrade to this over my original Shield. An over 10-year-old device, and I don't see a reason to upgrade. The only thing this really offers is, yes, more RAM. Yes, a remote that actually works, because my old remotes for the Shield are very dead. And this has Thread and Matter support, which does effing nothing in my house.
You gotta have that.
And I have some smart home stuff, but none of it supports that. So, and even if it did, like, there's other ways to work with those things that don't involve hubs either. So, yeah, I'm really trying to find a reason for this $100 device that I could get effectively for free. And yeah, I'm kind of just looking at it like, you know what? I think I'd rather just save that money and blow it on almost anything else. Which I don't know. In a week after the Pixel announcement, I might look at the Pixel and go, you know what? I'm just not going to bother with it, and I might not find anything else in the store to spend it on. I have to spend it by early October, so this might be the thing I end up getting. But the fact that I'm looking at this device and thinking, golly, I kind of don't even want it for free, or I don't think I want it enough that I'd get it for free. That's not a great position for a newly launched device that is, I think, overpriced. I might still get it, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I would probably just have an Apple TV if I had HDMI
Apple
ports
shill
left on my TV. Yeah, because that's like the one left that doesn't have ads everywhere.
Okay.
I know Google TV's like not quite there, but they're playing with it. They're dancing with fire.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of come down on the walking the line argument with this, because when we're talking about ads in the context of TV products, if what they're showing me, I can ignore it, or I can like easily instantly cancel out of it, I'm mostly of the mindset that, all right, fine, I kind of don't care if you try to show me like a silent preview for a movie. Don't turn on audio. The moment you turn on audio, I might just unplug you and throw you in the trash. But if while it's sitting on the home screen and it starts playing quietly the ad, or not, like the trailer for a TV show, yeah, fine. I honestly just don't care. And that's sort of like going to see a movie in a theater. You see trailers up front. Those trailers are ads. Yes, you might want to watch the trailers. You might enjoy watching the trailers. A lot of people do. But they are literally just ads. I'm okay with that kind of ad. But we know that like Roku was not aiming to do that. They were literally aiming to show you straight up commercials like you would have seen on TV. Nobody
Amazon's doing like the full screen ads. I don't know exactly to what extent Google TV is doing at this point. I think
my understanding is all movie and TV show trailers.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, I think where it gets to the point where it's something that's like not on a service you have installed or anything like that is where you start to lose me. If it's like, you know, I have Disney Plus installed and it's like, oh, this new movie on Disney Plus. Like, all right, like that's, maybe it's technically an advertisement, but like they're, you know, it's something that is not a product I would buy. If that makes sense.
It's an advertisement that is contextually appropriate. And again, as long as you can ignore it, like cancel out of it, and, or, you know, it's important that it never makes noise on its own. As long as it falls into that category, it's like, yeah, I just don't care. Like, fine, it's there, it's visible, but it's not bothering me. It's when ads bother me that, you know, they bother me. Like, that's kind of a obvious thing to say, but that's where I draw that line. And so far, I haven't seen Google crossing it.
So anyways, this TV box is kind of silly. I think that's what we've established here today.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to hate it because yay, it's got good specs. Yay, it's not
Google finally made. There's finally a thing you can buy that is not at least 5-year-old Nvidia Shield or a random off-brand product at Walmart that has Google TV.
And we got to throw in, and it actually has enough storage that you're not going to have to like uninstall apps just so you can install firmware updates. Like
bare minimum, bare minimum good experience. We got to.
Yeah. This is a legitimately good experience device, but the catch is they could have made a good experience device for $50. Or,
I
okay,
think,
fine, make it 60, 65.
yeah,
They could have done that. Why is it 100? This
they could have.
feels gougy.
You know, what they could have done,
Uh-oh.
add a DVD drive.
Honestly, after all the rumors, I think what they could have done, they needed to add tap to cast. They needed
That
to
would be
add
cool.
something cool. And okay,
You know,
I'm gonna throw in a weird twist. They should have put tap to cast in both the box and the remote.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I like that. I want that because
Yeah,
it's cool.
there's
Actual cool things are what we really wanted to see out of this, and they gave us nothing cool.
yeah, there's so many other things they could have added to this that would have made it very cool. And Roku has done some of them, but they're not going to because they want you to buy this to use with your streaming apps and everything else you buy through Google. Like they could have done what Roku does with their Ultras and add a USB port so you can like plug in a drive and just watch files on whatever you have, or an SD card slot for that, whatever. Like the Wii did. My Wii has that.
Mm-hmm.
You can open photos from your SD card and do a little gallery if you want. No one does that anymore, but like it could. They could have this would make it more expensive, but they could have added like antenna jack on it to make a little TV box. I don't know. They could have done. I mean, there's a lot of more stuff they could have added in this. Maybe do what Amazon tried to do and make it like a speaker too.
Yeah, a speaker would have been, well, a speaker and mic would have been the other big thing.
Yeah. I don't know if like, I know this is a cast target, but they could have also made it like, they could still do this with a software update. They wanted to make it a Bluetooth speaker target. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if Amazon does that. I know someone else does, but like, some sound bars have that built in. I don't know. This is a very just kind of boring thing, and that's okay sometimes. But they could have done more, and also this is $100. So
yeah,
I would still probably buy a Roku.
To Diablo's, Diablo brings up an interesting one. Make the top charge the remote. It didn't occur to me to check this earlier, but does the remote take batteries or does it charge by USB-C? I'm pretty sure it charges by USB-C, but it's not listed on the tech specs page. So I don't actually know.
I mean, there's a picture.
Oh, wait,
on
never
what's
mind.
in the box
Sorry, voice
page.
remote
Yeah.
says 2 included AAA batteries. So
Okay.
yeah, it is batteries. So yeah, I'm not going to go so far as to be harsh and say that it sucks that it's not a built-in battery, because I've got 2 Shield controllers that both have built-in batteries that are both very dead now and unusable.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, I'll go with the argument of, hey, yeah, replaceable batteries, kind of a nice thing. But yeah, it would have been kind of neat if maybe it had support for rechargeables, and you could just set the remote down on top of the device for charging of your rechargeable batteries. Or I don't know, something else. Like other people suggested, maybe the top of the device would have been just a neat Qi charger, because it kind of looks like it should be.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, they could have put a display kind of like the original Google Home had those under surface LEDs. You could have had something under there that even shows you like the temperature of the room.
Yeah,
Any little
add
thing.
cool lights. Yeah, that's what Apple does on the HomePod. It's a temperature sensor for like Apple Home's automation stuff. Like just throw whatever in there. Like it's a box that stays in your living room. It can be a lot of things.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. There's so many things they could have done with this. Somewhere at Google, like this is a company that used to be sort of famous for how much They did weird, quirky, cool things with products. And here we are with kind of like the most vanilla product they could have launched. And I look, like, I don't want to come down too hard on it because sometimes experiments like that don't work. But how about anything? Something that differentiates this, something that feels cool. And okay, look, lights on top might be kind of annoying. Maybe that's something they shouldn't do. But you can't tell me that they couldn't have done something neat with the remote, something different with the box, something anywhere that makes this feel like something only Google can do. Because for crying out loud, I mean, Walmart literally already did this. Google's just doing the same thing at a higher price. Do something that only you can do, because that's what you're supposed to do.
I think they were banking on the Thread integration or Matter being that, and then it didn't. And they're like, oh well.
Yeah.
Oh well, worth a shot. I don't know. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the silly box. You can go buy the silly box. I will not.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't. I'm not gonna criticize anybody for buying this. Like, it looks nice. It doesn't have any notable problems outside of, I think the price is too high for what it is. So yeah, it's perfectly good, which also is one of the few times we've been able to credibly say that about a Google product for a while. Like, look, I like Pixel phones. I like some of the things Google makes, but every single thing I've been able to point to some other product and be like, yeah, you know, you might want to consider that instead. You probably should consider the Pixel or whatever, but you know, there's something else that's way better at some particular thing, and maybe that's what you actually want. Not necessarily, but maybe. So yeah, this has very few compromises beyond the price and Wi-Fi choice. I still want to slap them for that, because it's that seems like such a low bar to have crossed, and they managed to stumble over that one. But anyway, yeah, so we've talked about this for a while. I'm not turning it into a topic, but I just quickly want to mention, in the same announcement, along with the same announcements, Google also brought up the AI features for like Nest, so it can do things like describe what it sees in videos instead of making you watch through videos. And they're paywalling it. I get it. I know why they are. I understand that. But I just find myself going, guys, no. Just find a way to do this cheaply, and it would be better. That is literally all I'm going to say about that, because I think we've beaten the AI topics into the ground, and there's nothing actually that remarkable about what they're presenting. It's a good feature. I get it, but it's stuff we've seen AI do. They're just literally tacking that feature into the Nest Aware or Nest subscription, whatever the hell it's called. Anyway,
yeah, I saw they were doing the same like ask AI to make a image background for your TV, like the same thing.
Oh, that too. Yeah, I'm ignoring that.
It's like, I don't care. Like, who cares? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really dumb thing to even announce. Like, put it in, go ahead. There's no reason not to have that there, but who cares? No one's gonna use it. Like, people are either gonna want the actual photos that are already like a feature on Chromecast devices, or they're gonna want their own personal photo albums. I don't think that many people are gonna want AI generated stuff. And even as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about all those AI nut job fanatics out there that are like, oh my god, I need AI everything, my entire life is built around AI. Those people absolutely are gonna buy this because, oh my god, I can have AI backgrounds, it's gonna be so awesome.
Anyway, so that's the box. Is there anything else? Because I need food. Do you go for food?
Nope, there is nothing else, and I was just about to ask you anything you want to pitch. Maybe the space
No.
bar turning a year old.
Yes, the space bar is a year old.
Go into the Discord and you can find the link Corbin posted to that.
There it is.
Or there
you can read about a bunch of right wingers hate sharing an article I wrote, and then giving me 2 months worth of ad revenue in the process, which is the funniest thing that happened.
Corbin taking advantage of the internet's troll party. All right. Anyway, so with that, we're gonna call this one a wrap. As usual, I should be game streaming this Saturday and Sunday in the morning, usually about 9-ish a.m. Pacific time. And otherwise, we'll be back next week with another RambleCast. Of course, if you'd like to support the channel, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. And huge thanks to Curvy Mermaid, Carson, David, Austin, and Diablo. Y'all are awesome for supporting the show. So, hope you all have an excellent rest of the week. Thank you all for coming by, hanging out, and being part of the conversation. And we'll catch you in the next one. Good night, everybody.